Okay, good morning. It's Tuesday, and we're going to talk about some political issues. Because,
Hey,
good Lord.
what happened to the Taco Tuesday sounder? You worked so hard making all those sounders, and then you barely even use
I
them
did.
anymore.
I did.
Uh,
Apparently, something happened to it because I just pushed the button and it wasn't there. I'm sorry. I thought we just hadn't used it in a while.
oh dear. So,
Oh,
okay
well,
then.
it wasn't one of our better ones. It, it was funny, but we've done better. So,
That's
oh
what
my
happens when
God.
you do a live show, man.
It is. It all happens right there in front of you. And you never know who's going to pop up in the comments and just troll the crap out of you. But what happened yesterday? Well, the,
Well,
time to start the show.
Chris didn't mute his phone. That didn't happen
that's
today.
that's
What
Oh
happened
no,
yesterday?
I muted it. That was an alarm. The alarm overcomes the muting.
Oh, I see. I see. I
Yes,
guess it's not a very good alarm if it does not overcome the muting. I
right.
could see how that would make a lot of people late for work.
So let's
The
talk about the
cringe,
enemy for a minute.
cringiest thing.
The cringiest thing I've seen in 2020, and that would be cultural
For
appropriation
our
for the
moment of
win.
silence.
Oh, oh, and oh look, Dumpy Nadler on his high on his on his fucking lips. He can't get down to kneel.
Nancy, put your mask back on, damn it.
Who's this behind her picking her crotch? Oh, and unfortunately, this clip doesn't roll. I just wanted to show y'all that it happened. This clip doesn't roll all the way out to where Nancy couldn't get up. Help me!
Ooh.
Life alert! Help me! I've virtue signaled and I can't stand up.
Oh man, and good lord. Oh. Like this is all over a man that literally was in and out of prison for multiple times for uh, cocaine possession, and then was in and out of prison for robbing a pregnant woman, and then abandoned his family and moved to Minneapolis to get a fresh start on life, and managed to get so jacked up on fentanyl he had a such a large dose in his system it would have killed somebody that had not already built up a tolerance. Like, anyhow, Ron's in the comments section. Morning, Ron. Thanks for joining us. But yeah, that's what that big cringe fest was all about. It was all about a guy that, you know, like it's okay to say that I think the cops were wrong without turning this guy into a martyr. Like it
Or a
just,
hero. Um, why does George Floyd get murals everywhere, and Officer Dorn does not? One of these men was a good person.
yeah, yeah, was. So yeah, and this is why this sort of virtue signaling is why Minneapolis is just going to disband their police department. Now, let me be clear: they're not. That's only got about 1,001 legal hurdles to overcome. But
Yeah, even having voted it in with a veto-proof majority, that doesn't beat the court. Um, And you, as a government, you have a responsibility to perform that service in at least some way.
Yeah. It. And
Rod asks, hero or heroin? No, we're talking about George Floyd, Rod. That would be methamphetamine.
Fentanyl.
And fentanyl, yes.
Right.
Can't forget the F-bomb. It wouldn't be a proper meth mouth without the F-bomb, would it?
Right. But yeah, this is... Boy, you want to talk about the enemy. I mean, this is not just the enemy of this country. This is the enemy of sanity. Like, they're wearing what I refer to as Kunta Kinte scarves and kneeling on a marble floor. And like every single one of them, and here comes your F-bomb, every single one of them's fuck old. And they're kneeling down on a hard floor. Like when it panned across Chuck Schumer, I swear I could feel him going, ow, ow, ow.
Yeah, Chucky hadn't cried that hard since Trump refused to cave to the shutdown.
George Floyd did not deserve to die. Donald Trump is the most racist president ever. And then just to throw it in there, just for all the insanity of it and all the virtue signaling, dude, are you tracking that when Looney Tunes comes back, Yosemite Sam won't have his pistols and Elmer Fudd won't have his double barrel?
No.
Yeah, apparently cartoon violence is okay as long as there's not a gun involved. Thank you, HBO Max. And this is HBO. Guys, Game of Thrones.
We're going to have some very important things to say about that.
Game of Thrones. Hell, just the first couple of episodes of Game of Thrones. And you're worried about Elmer Fudd carrying a gun. Glad you guys have got your priorities in order. So there's all that. We're just kind of setting a table a wee bit here, because what the hell?
I'll tell you what the hell. They want to abolish the police. Some of us are ready for it.
President Trump declared Antifa a domestic terrorist organization. I have a message for Antifa terrorists. Stay the hell out of Northwest Georgia. You won't burn our churches, loot our businesses, or destroy our homes. I'm Marjorie Greene, and I approve this message.
Oh. I was loving that clip right up until I caught, don't dry fire your AR. Everything else about that video, I loved it. But what consultant told you to dry fire the AR? Don't dry fire your AR.
It wasn't somebody who was an expert in firearms. It was an expert.
No,
it was somebody that said, we could just have one more little click clack in the commercial as you pause to take the breath.
Dear Marjorie, as you want to make more of these fantastic political ads, you should hire somebody who is also an expert in firearms.
Somebody that does film and guns? Yeah, buddy.
So, yes, you should call us over at the Brushfire Mind so that you can hire a professional cinematographer / retired warfighter. I'll make you look damn good with a gun on camera. Also, we shoot everything in 4K, so it won't be that grainy, crappy looking video that we just saw. Your message is on point. Y'all need to pay for some cinematography.
Yeah, but this is your coffee trigger.
Oh.
Okay, so yeah, I actually live in the 14th district,
and today's the day, baby.
Today's
the primary.
Yeah, but whoever wins the primary, unless they get caught with a dead girl or a live boy, they're they're gonna end up going to Washington. Like it just is what it is. And just based on driving around, seeing yard signs and stuff like that, you know, Marjorie looks like she's pretty well got this locked up. She's actually driven her bus and done rallies like in the grocery store parking lot. And a lot of people that I really respect, folks I go to church with, stuff like that, they're really big fans of her. But there's a wee bit of controversy with her, controversy, if you prefer the British pronunciation.
I do not.
Well, that's okay. We're not British. We don't have to say it that way. Rod is in the comments. I'm just going to, while you're clicking things around, he says dial 444-8111. I got to be honest, I don't get it. And then he made another good pun. Bugger Bunny. That's obviously in reference to Looney Tunes, HBO Max, and all that.
Yeah. Well, we had another video from Marjorie about a month ago. Similar theme, but obviously it was pre-riot.
America's the greatest country in the world. We need conservatives in Washington that will keep it that way. I'm running to stop gun control, open borders, the Green New Deal, and socialism.
I ain't gonna lie, that video would have been a ball to make.
Yeah, is it just me, or as soon as you give a woman a big gun, she's just a little bit hotter? I mean, what can we say? Even though it's in 2020 and we're not supposed to say things like that, can we just go ahead and say that? Like,
I'm totally comfortable with that statement.
Oh. No, dude, I need to stay on message. You're breaking me. You're breaking me.
I'm breaking you? Does it hurt?
A little bit.
And yes, Rod, Tannerite, Foxtrot, Tango, Whiskey.
Yes, for the win. So, Chris, before we kind of move into what the controversies around her are, you brought up an interesting point. That's why we set the table with all of the cringeworthy bullshit from the leftists and their virtue signaling. So please, sir, educate me for the second time.
So Cameron mentioned that he lives in the 14th and will be voting in that primary today. And well, like he said, just based on what he's saying about driving around in the district and seeing the ratio of support signs for Greene over other candidates, she appears to have more of the popular support than any other candidate in the area. That's honestly a pretty good indicator that she's on her way to a victory. It is not, however, a reasonable basis on which to vote for somebody. Now, it is, however, the basis on which many will cast their votes for her, because, guys, reading all the stuff, studying the candidates, especially in a crowded field, you got 10 Republicans in this primary, keeping up with everybody that's on the ticket. I'm not in the 14th. I have not kept up with everybody on this ticket because I don't get to vote for this one. I don't have a dog in this fight. But we follow a lot of races that we don't have a dog in the fight when they breach a certain level of national notoriety, and we tend to follow for the purposes of this show because we are a global show, not a Georgia only show. I mean, we're based in Georgia. We're more interested in Georgia issues than other issues, with the exception of certain significant national issues. But trying to keep up with everything is just it's a bridge too far. It's a daunting task for anybody. And that's a fair point. But all politics is local first. All politics is local. And quite simply, the obsession with national politics has been one of the things that has damaged our country, because y'all have been watching the big boys and worrying about what they're doing. And meanwhile, the Justice Democrats and Black Lives Matter and ANTIFA and other similar insurgent terrorist organizations masquerading as political parties in this country, they've been taking over your local politics. They've been taking over your city councils. They've been taking over your boards of education. They've been taking over your frickin' water and sewage programs. They're getting in there. They're getting entrenched. That's the first stepping stool, the first stepping stone for them to try and move up to, from dog catcher to mayor to governor to beyond, eventually to president. It's local politics. On the one hand, it's the mailroom of politics. It's that first job that you want to get, because it's not the job you want to get. It's the job before the job you want. Right.
Plus,
I was not expecting to drop a Transformers reference. Especially not one with John Malkovich in it.
Plus, there is something, and I'm going to say this exactly correct, but there's something really Stalin-esque about moving into all of these lower level positions, because a large part of Stalin's ascent to power involved seeding his people in as many areas as possible. And in particular, anytime he could move into a position where he was allowed to appoint people, or one of his loyal followers was allowed to appoint people, that's what he would go for. As far as doing like the total takeover of Mother Russia, Stalin didn't do that until he had his like little fingers spread out into every single pie.
Basically, when he did it, he had already done it.
Yes. And so that's why you should remember that your politics is local. And going back to defunding the police, that's not going to happen on a federal level. That's going to happen on a local level. And it's not going to happen all at once either. This will not be the time police get defunded. And the next time will probably not be the time police get defunded. But somewhere down the line, the Overton window will shift and the police will get defunded. Now, where I live at, in Marjorie Greene's district, where shooting big guns is probably going to win the primary, you could probably defund the cops out here and we'd be okay. But, man, the west side of Atlanta, oh boy, go ahead, defund the cops out there. See how well that works.
But in fact, where you live in a place like that, you guys could arguably be safer and better off without the police. It's a taxpayer expenditure that you don't need. And please believe, when you start talking about an old, country town, small country town, the phrase "fuck around and find out" comes to mind. If all of a sudden there's not law enforcement to prevent the country boys from just handling business, it won't be long before there's not a lot of business left to be handled. Quite contrarily, when you abolish the police without replacing them with something else, and even with replacing them with something else, the idea that you're going to abolish the police and replace them with some kind of just, we have counselors now. Oh, yeah. Let's see how your non-lethal public safety measures work for the Crips and the Bloods. What you're going to have is, per block, it will be a Crip block or a Blood block or a MS-13 block or what. Your cities will divide up into organized crime blocks. And not because those organized crime groups are conducting crime. they'll be conducting law enforcement. And the law that they'll be enforcing will be the law of local safety and self-interest. So, murder might not be a crime that they're interested in prosecuting against a local who killed another drug dealer who was from outside the block, right? And another thing you're going to start seeing, that you will start seeing once it goes that way, you'll sure enough see tariffs being charged by neighborhoods. You'll see tariffs charged by just basically gangs. It's like, oh, you want to drive through, not South Carolina, but just pick a city. You want to drive through, I was about to say Raleigh, but that's North Carolina, isn't it? But anyway, you want to drive through just this city, and the gang's going to stop you, and they're just going to expect you to write a check or hand over some merchandise to go to your next location.
Gang members take checks. That's funny. Anyhow, so you were saying something about messaging, and that's what I thought was really interesting.
Yes. If I were your consultant right now as a Republican,
Any Republican,
we talked about part of this a little bit yesterday. For years now, since before the Donald, if you are not bending the knee and raising the fist and doing the whole, if you don't just immediately capitulate to the idea that men are women and women are men and there's no such thing as sex, and basically if you're not a completely woke black supremacist, you're Hitler. And like I was saying yesterday, when the secularist says Hitler, what they mean is the devil. Hitler is their representation of ultimate evil. And I'm not saying that Hitler is not ultimate evil. My point is he is their what's the correct phrasing here? He is their superlative pejorative. He's the ultimate negative. And that's when the lefty says you are literally Hitler, what they actually mean is you are literally the embodiment of evil, and they have no other qualifiers to accompany that, because it's interesting that Hitler ran for office and won the vote in a popular massive landslide on essentially the 2020 Democrat platform. He was a little less radical to the left. He didn't run on abolishing the police.
No, but he was a supremacist, and he wanted universal health care. Like, it's, trust me, I'm from the government, and I'm here to help.
Yeah, that's basically the Nazi campaign slogan. And I hate comparing people to Nazis, because, quite simply, one, when you do it, you're making a comparison with. For the majority of people, when they do it, they don't understand what the Nazis were. They, in fact, in many cases, they dramatically underestimate how very evil the Nazis were. And it's largely because the people that make the Nazi/Hitler comparison, they actually believe in and support everything that the Nazis and Hitler believed in and supported, with the occasional exception of the supremacism. But by a wide margin, Democrats are supremacists. And that's a whole other conversation, the multifaceted supremacist. Basically what the Democrat believes is that the white man is superior to the black man, and so the black man requires all kinds of extra help because he can't achieve anything on his own, because he's lesser than the white man. That's what the Democrat believes. The Democrat is actually a white supremacist. It's just that they think that They believe that it is a fact that white men are better than black men, and that fact is a bad state of affairs, and so work must be done to make the black man better than the white man.
Yeah, that's what white privilege really means. It's one reason why I find the term so offensive. It's like, hey, you guys ever hear that phrase about the soft bigotry of low expectations?
Right.
Because that's white privilege in a nutshell.
But now we're getting off on a whole other tangent, and I don't want to be
messaging.
So the messaging, we've been getting that messaging from the left for a long time. If I was your consultant right now, Republicans, you will be using war language. They are the enemy, right? When I raised my hand and swore the oath, and I will uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from all enemies, foreign and domestic. These are the domestic. Nancy Pelosi is the domestic enemy. Chuck Schumer is the domestic enemy. The rioters and protesters, Black Lives Matter, the organization BLM, Black Lives Matter, that ethno-supremacist organization is the enemy. They are the domestic enemy. Okay? BLM, ANTIFA, Planned Parenthood, these are domestic enemies. Planned Parenthood is more of the money laundering operation, and such an obvious money laundering operation that is, like, believe it or not, murdering babies by the cargo is quite possibly the least immoral thing that organization does.
Oh, well, man, Baal worship has been profitable since Old Testament times.
Morning, Alex. Good to see you, baby.
Morning, Alex. But yeah, man, Baal worship has been profitable since Old Testament times. Like, there's nothing new under the sun there.
That's B-A-apostrophe-A-L, not B-A-I-L. Now we're talking about a whole different type of Baal reform.
Boy, that's not.
Oh, I'm going to have to generate some Baal reform memes. In fact, let me make a note. Baal reform.
Well, that's why Marjorie is probably going to win the primary out here in the 14th district, because she has unabashedly, like, I mean, it says that she's pro-God, pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, pro-Trump. Like, if you're going to pander, you might as well go ahead and jump in with both feet.
Oh, yeah. You might as well go ahead and pull that mask on and go both feet into the pandemic.
Oh, man. Dad jokes are strong with you this morning, sir.
Hallelujah. I actually borrowed that one. So, tip of the hat to the half Asian.
Yes.
Well played,
Bill
well
Richmond.
Played,
I need to get caught up on my Steven Crowders, but I've been absorbing every piece of information I can about the George Floyd stuff and the Breonna Taylor and the Ahmaud Arbery, and I realize it's probably unhealthy for me, but, like, for example, Chauvin's supposed to have these 18 charges against him, but I haven't really found a comprehensive list where anybody explains the 18 charges and what they mean.
You mean the 18 complaints?
That's right, the 18 complaints.
Big difference.
And it could just be because I'm looking for podcasts or YouTube videos that I listen to, because I drive around all day. I can't read my phone while I'm going down the road in a 1-ton truck. That won't work. But anyhow.
Now, real quick, just because you mentioned it. I don't want to dig into the George Floyd stuff again too much today, but just because you mentioned it, let me say this about the 18 complaints. If you're going to bring them up, I'm talking to the media, so more than you right now, because this is part of the problem that you're talking about. If you're going to bring up that he had 18 complaints, you need to publish them. Because there's a big damn difference between there were 18 complaints against this officer for aggressive behavior on the job, and there were 18 complaints where he pulled somebody over for having a license plate expired, and they called in and filed a complaint just to be spiteful. Because that is something that police officers deal with a lot, is just bullshit complaints. So if you're gonna hang the lynching of this guy on he had 18 complaints, you damn well need to publish those complaints. We need to know what they were.
Yeah, instead of just going to the juiciest one where that involved him and two other officers firing, over 36 rounds into a car. Anyhow, I say that to say, I've fallen down on the job a little bit here. I have done some research on Marjorie Greene, not too much.
Was this basically all of it?
This is basically all of it. And look, it's not lost on me that this website is set up just to be a hit piece on her. And some of the stuff that's in here, like, why did Marjorie donate to a Democrat, for example? Well, because she lived in Fulton County. It's sort of like, why did Donald Trump donate to Democrats? Because he lived in freaking Manhattan. And if you don't play ball with the Democrats, you're not getting anything done. Our buddies at Polytech, Alex, suggested that everybody go get a Democrat ballot today because on the Republican side of things, it's all locked up. So if you don't vote in the Democrat primary, you're actually giving yourself less of a voice in your local government. And unfair, miss me with those bullshit terms.
Real quick, before that goes the wrong direction, Alex was talking specifically about the Rockdale County and Conyers votes. This does not apply to Polk County. So if you're in Polk County and you're watching this, you can vote Republican there. It's my county where there are no competitive. There's no Republican competition on the ballot. I mean, the Donald owns this shit, and yeah.
Well, yeah, but I would say that the flip side actually applies out here in the 14th district. I get it. You might be a Democrat. You don't want to vote for Republicans. But if you want the opportunity to have a say in your local government, you need to pull a Republican ballot because whoever wins the primary's got a 99% chance of being the person that goes to Congress or becomes the mayor or whatever election you want to bring into it. Oh, and just real quick, talking local elections, there is one thing that's going to come up for a popular vote in our county, and I love it. If you run for school board, you're going to have to declare your political affiliation.
Awesome.
And I'm definitely voting yes on that one.
But yeah, like what Alex was talking about. I mean, here's the ballot, and incumbent. There's, this is the Republican sample ballot. Incumbent. On almost all of these, in almost every spot, there's the incumbent and no competitor for almost the whole thing. And wow, I'm blushing a little bit at just how many of these fuckers I actually know. Anyway, so there's Bobby. Oh, hey guys. Anyway, I don't know that I have much else. I want the big takeaway here, and we kind of buried the lead on it, I guess. But my big takeaway from what's going on with Marjorie's ads and the like, I like that language. That wartime language is absolutely appropriate because what we're facing is not. We're not dealing with two political parties who have a similar end goal with a different vision for achieving that end goal. We're dealing now with two political parties that have almost polar opposite objectives. The Republican Party, as weak and tepid as I've always found them to be, I have long said that I've long said that I basically vote for Republicans because they fuck up slower. But the fact of the matter is, in theory, you've muted yourself, I think, Cameron.
Oh, they fail less.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd even give them that much credit. They fail slower. Over a long enough timeline, the odds of survival for everybody drops to 0. But
yes, that's your black pill of the morning. Thank you very much. So, one of the things that I just wanted to touch on real quick before we get off, and it's something that I realized as we were discussing this in prep as far as messaging is concerned. This, for better or worse, is what wins. How do you smash through all of that virtue signaling from the left where you feel guilty if you disagree with them? Well, you refuse to have the conversation on their terms. If you have the conversation on their terms, you will lose. But if instead you say, no, I'm not going to put up with this socialist bullshit. You really want civil rights equality, for example. Okay, fine. Vote for us. We'll rescind gun control legislation, make it easier for more people to legally own firearms. And I guarantee you, people will be a hell of a lot more equal when that happens. But because we refuse to engage the conversation in those terms, like Republicans lose. You know, you had John McCain who played it safe and lost, and then you had Mitt Romney, literal choir boy, who lost. And by the way, Mitt Romney, man, he's gone like, woo, he's way out there now, isn't he? Like Black Lives Matter, Mitt Romney. Sure, buddy. Let's talk about the Mormon Church and how Black Lives Matter and see how well that conversation goes for you.
Yeah, and I want to close on this. While we're talking, because we've talked a little bit about the Second Amendment and the ethno-supremacist terrorist organization that is BLM. Go look at the BLM website. I hate to give them any traffic, but go look at their website. The phrase Black Lives Matter. Sure, Black Lives Matter. Okay, all lives matter. Whatever. But the BLM, the Black Lives Matter movement, there's actually an organization. This is a political organization that is funded and actively engaged in activist maneuvers. And they are a dyed-in-the-wool, radical, hard-left, Marxist, ethno-supremacist organization. Period. Unequivocally. And as we've been talking a little bit about Second Amendment and self-defense and all that, let me just be very, very clear about this.
I'm sorry. I work for Black Lives Matter. I'm sorry that I scared you. Okay. But since I work for that company, my CEO has told me to come out today and to bring you on your knees because you have white privilege. So if they see that a white person is getting on their knees, that shows solidarity for the situation. And could you just please apologize for your white privilege?
Okay. Let me be very clear about this. What you have just witnessed here, that is assault.
Is this the troll? Because there was one guy going out and doing this just for troll points.
Doesn't matter.
Just to make the point.
Doesn't matter. It's assault. And tell you something about the state of Georgia. Under the law in the state of Georgia, I'll have to look up the exact code section. It's under Title 16, which deals with Title 16, Chapter 5, Article 2, covers assault and battery. 16.520 specifically is simple assault. I'll have to look it up to see where the graduated response definitions are. But basically, if you are being assaulted, if someone is committing simple assault against you, which is where a person commits the offense of simple assault by attempting to commit a violent injury to the person of another, or placing another person in reasonable apprehension of immediately receiving a violent injury. If you are being assaulted, assault is the threat of harm. Battery is the actual causing of harm. Right? You are perfectly within your rights to respond to an assault with simple battery. If that assault includes a weapon, that escalates the charge to aggravated assault, and a response with a similar weapon is absolutely justified in a responsive aggravated battery for the purposes of self-defense. I guarantee you, if you walk up to me with a cell phone in your hand, troll or no, and you ask me to get on my knees and beg your forgiveness, you will shit your teeth.
You don't think there's any value in...
No.
Because Alex is in the comments. He's saying, yes, this guy's a troll. So apparently, because what I heard is he didn't even work for Black Lives Matter. He was trying to make the point that people have just gotten so stupid and so scared and so bought into this narrative that they'd be willing to throw away their agency on a whim just because so-and-so said
that's fine.
so.
And that's fine. And if he wants to come up and see if I'm that bought in, then, well, he'll have about 0.6 seconds to say, "Whoa!"
I swear it's just for a YouTube video.
And then we can have a great conversation.
Hey, real quick. Have you been observing the red pilling of Martin Luther King?
No.
And I'm not even necessarily...
Talcum X is getting ready to wipe off his shoe polish.
And look, I'm not saying that he's gone like full bore on it, but there have been a couple of interesting tweets from him lately where he points out that Rand Paul is the one, the Republican is the one championing police reform in the Senate. He also pointed out that some of these cities that have got all this police brutality have been controlled by Democrats for decades. And
you don't say.
It's like, wait a minute, seriously, Mr. King, did you go so far down the black hole you've now begun to invert and come out of the white hole on the other side? Has this happened?
Holy crap, you're RoboCop. Oh.
But yeah, that's anyhow, we'll bring it all back around. The messaging. This is why Donald Trump won. If Republicans want to win, at least in the near term, this is what they need to do.
Sprout a sack and destroy the domestic enemies of the United States Constitution. As you've sworn to do.
Yeah, for years now, we've been so frustrated with milquetoast Republicans. They come in, they hit all the right talking points. They say less government, lower taxes, and sure. But the problem is, A, a lot of them don't even come close to delivering on that. And then B, it's tired. It's played out. And it doesn't work anymore. What works, love Donald Trump, hate Donald Trump, whatever, but that works. People are tired of being insulted. They're tired of being told they need to get down on their knees and feel guilty about things that happened before they were even born. And so that's why I think Marjorie's going to win the district that I'm in. And then we're going to pay very close attention to her and make sure she actually votes the way she promises to vote.
Yeah, buddy. All right, that's all I've got this morning. Alex, you and I probably need to get on the air together and go back and forth a couple of rounds. Sorry I couldn't call into your show last night. I was actually on the clock and just kind of catching you as I could. But y'all had a great show last night. I had a ball trolling your comments with you.
Yeah. including telling me to toe the line.
Yeah, I think Danny might have peed a little then.
No, stop.
All right. We love you guys. Make sure I know. Well, shit, I know both of these guys. You're already subscribed. I appreciate it. Share it. Leave me a comment and tell your buddies to subscribe. Let's blow this thing up. We've got a lot of noise to make. We will see y'all tomorrow for WTF CCN CCPNN.
All right, buddy. Time to go do that thing.
Yep.